गुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणि प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यादि पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela chapter 20 text 104 onwards. हेडिंग सनातन के नित्य सिद्ध ज्ञानी शुतु बद्धजीवेर मंगलार्थी प्रभुर उत्तर प्रदान. Despite knowing that Sanatana Goswami is a Nitya Siddha, the Lord answers Sanatana's questions just for the auspiciousness of the Baddha Jivas. प्रभु कहे कृष्ण कृपा तुम्हाते पूर्ण होय, सब तत्व जानो तुम्हार नाही तापत्रय. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Lord Krishna has bestowed his full mercy upon you so that all these things are known to you. For you the threefold miseries certainly do not exist. Please.
It's like here Prabhu is writing that Gauranga Goswami is writing that already Sanatana Goswami is Nitya Siddha. But once also I sent you some letter that Prabhu is writing that among all the Goswamis, only two and Ramana.
No, but in that very letter you should see that he's also saying that they're all perfect. That very letter, next paragraph.
Perfect.
That's okay. Ultimately, even here we'll see that there's only Nitya Mukta and Nitya Baddha ultimately. Ultimately speaking, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's analysis is like that.
Once one becomes Siddha, it's a Nitya Siddha, because both have.
Just like here, everybody is described as Nitya Samsari in Mahaprabhu's theology. It looks like when you are a sadhana siddha, you have not attained that Harer Madhurya Anubhava. Prema is come. So therefore there is some tartamya, some gradation there. It looks like. 105. कृष्ण शक्ति धरो तुम्हें जानो तत्व भाव जानी दार्ढ्य लागी पूछे साधुर स्वभाव. Since you possess Lord Krishna's potency, you certainly know these things. However, it is the nature of a sadhu to inquire. Although he knows these things, the sadhu inquires for the sake of strictness. The sadhus are supposed to be interested in learning. That is why they inquire. Inquire means they try to learn, they try to know. Because all this knowledge will make one's devotional service firm. Heading
105, Amrta-Pravaha.
Where?
Sorry, 106 it is.
Why the speaker is heading तत्व जिज्ञासार एकांत प्रयोजनीयता ताहते अभीष्ट सिद्धि. Inquiry about the absolute truth is absolutely essential. One can attain one's cherished goals only through that. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Thrita Naradiya Bhakka, a statement from Narada Purana quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.103. Acharadeva 106. Acharadeva sarvartha siddhyatyesham abhipsiddhaha saddharmasyavabodhaya esham nirbandhini matihi. Those who are eager to awaken their spiritual consciousness and who thus have unflinching undeviated intelligence certainly attain the desired goal of life very soon. So the whole idea is that you develop unflinching, undeviated intelligence only through all these question answers. It is only through learning, the process of learning. All of that is indicated by the expression Tattva Jigyasa, Jivasya Tattva Jigyasa. This verse quoted from the Naradiya Purana is found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.103.
This, the Bengali
Amrta-Pravaha has got 106 translation. Sadharme Rudhai Koraivar Janna Jahader Dridhamati Tahader Shigrai Abhipsita Sarvartha Siddhi Hai. Those who have the strong determination in order to awaken Sadharma, transcendental dharma. That means to awaken knowledge about transcendental dharma. Only for them, for them, very quickly, there is fulfillment of their cherished desires. What did you say?
this I mean, first line is second line of this, and the second line is first line. The BBT version and this.
In what? Which version?
The 106 sloka.
How does it appear in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu?
I don't know. I'll have to check. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
Okay. Anubhashya. Sadharmasya nitya upadeya bhagavata dharmasya avabodhaya tattva-jnanaya tatvam jigyasitum ityartha yesham bhakti mukha sukriti vatam samsarvam nirmanchalamatihi ruchihi buddhihi va vartate yesham शुद्ध चित्तानां निर्मल चेतसां अभिसिद्धः प्रार्थितः सर्वार्थः साध्यः अचरा शीघ्रमेव सिद्ध्यति सफलः भवति. Those who have unflinching taste or unflinching intellectual resolution. And we are talking about those people who have bhakti ummukha sukriti. That means those who have that kind of fire spirit, which is favorable for the development of Krishna Bhakti. So those who have a taste or the intelligence to inquire about the absolute truth. The truths pertaining to Bhagavata Dharma, which is eternally useful for them. Only for such persons. Such persons, their minds are pure, their consciousness is pure. For them, the goal that they are praying for will be easily attained. So this kind of study of the knowledge of Sambandha Abhidheya Prayojana makes it easier for one to attain sadhana siddhi and bhakti yoga. The others will find it much slower. Heading Sanatan ke आचार्य रूपे प्रभुर अंगीकार. Sanatan Goswami accepted, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Sanatan Goswami as an acharya, as the next acharya. 107. Jogga patra ho tumi bhakti pravartaite krame sa tattva shuno kohiye to mate. You are fit to propagate the cult of devotional service. Therefore, gradually hear all the truths about it from me. I shall tell you about them. Okay. Shri Sanatan Siksha Arambha A1. Why is it ka ka ga ga? Ka being A. So then it's all divided. 1.1, 1.2, like that it goes on. Okay, wait. Here, teachings of Lord Caitanya. Page 52. This is the process of accepting a spiritual master. One should approach a spiritual master, humbly submit to him, and then inquire from him about one's spiritual progress. That means one should learn how to make spiritual progress. The Lord was pleased by Sanatan's submissive behavior, and he replied, "You have already received benediction from Lord Krishna, and therefore you know everything and are free from all the miseries of material existence." The Lord further pointed out that because Sanatan was in Krishna consciousness, he was naturally, by the grace of Krishna, already conversant with everything. Because you are a humble devotee, the Lord continued, you are asking me to confirm what you already know. This is very nice. So humble devotees ask what they already know to confirm. These are the these are genuine devotees. Non-genuine devotees don't bother about philosophy. In the Narada Bhakti Sutra, it is said, it's an editorial error, it should be in the Narada Purana. It is said that one who is very serious about developing Krishna consciousness has his desire to understand Krishna fulfilled very soon by the grace of the Lord. You are a suitable person to protect the devotional service of the Lord, Caitanya Mahaprabhu continued. Therefore, it is my duty to instruct you in the science of God, and I will explain everything to you step by step. Okay. Then what? Again, and then Prabhupada gives a long explanation here. Okay, there's a long explanation. Let me read it out. It is the duty of a disciple approaching a spiritual master to inquire about his constitutional position. In conformity to that spiritual process, Sanatan has already asked, what am I and why am I suffering from the threefold miseries? The threefold miseries are called Adhyatmika, Adhibhautika, and Adhidaivika. The word Adhyatmika refers to those miseries caused by the mind and body. Sometimes a living entity suffers bodily, and sometimes he is distressed mentally. Both are Adhyatmika miseries. We experience these miseries even in the womb of our mother. That's not good news. And as we well know, there are many types of miseries that take advantage of the delicate human body and give us pain. Miseries inflicted by other living entities are called Adhibhautika. These living entities need not even be large, for there are many, such as bugs, that can make us miserable even while we are sleeping in bed. There are many insignificant living entities like cockroaches that sometimes give us pain, and there are also other living entities who are born on different types of planets and who give us miseries. As far as the Adhidaivika miseries are concerned, these are, what is this? There are also other living entities who are born on different kinds of planets and give us miseries. UFOs, something like that. As far as the Adhidaivika miseries are concerned, these are natural disasters that originate with the demigods of the higher planets. For instance, we sometimes suffer from severe cold or hot weather, from a thunderbolt, or from earthquakes, tornadoes, droughts, and many natural disasters. In any case, we are always suffering from either one or a combination of these three kinds of miseries. Sanatan's inquiry was therefore an intelligent one. What is the position of the living entities, he asked. Why are they always undergoing these three kinds of miseries? Sanatan admitted his weakness, although he was known by the masses of people as a greatly learned man, and actually he was a highly learned Sanskrit scholar. And although he accepted this designation, he did not actually know what his constitutional position really was and just why he was subjected to the threefold miseries. Approaching a spiritual master is not just a fashion, but is a necessity for one who is seriously conscious of the material miseries and who wants to be freed of them. It is the duty of such a person to approach a spiritual master. In this regard, we should note similar circumstances in Bhagavad Gita. When Arjuna was perplexed by so many problems involving whether to fight or not, he accepted Lord Krishna as a spiritual master. It was also a case of the Supreme Spiritual Master instructing Arjuna about the constitutional position of the living entity. In Bhagavad Gita, we are informed that the constitutional nature of the individual entity is spirit soul. He is not matter. As spirit soul, he is part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. We also learned that it is the duty of the spirit soul to surrender, for only then can he be happy. The last instruction of Bhagavad Gita is that the spirit soul surrender completely unto the Supreme Soul Krishna, and in that way realize happiness. Here also, Lord Chaitanya, answering the questions of Sanatana, repeats the same truth. There is a difference, however. Here, Lord Chaitanya does not give the information about the spirit soul that is already described in Bhagavad Gita. Rather, he begins from the point where Krishna ended his instruction. It is accepted by great devotees that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. And from this point of view, he begins his instruction to Sanatan from the point where he ended his instructions to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, we'll go back to Caitanya Charitamrita, heading Sarva Prathame Jiver Swarup Vichar. Right at the beginning, there is an analysis of the nature of the Jiva. 108 to 109. Jiver Swarup Hoy, Krishner Nityadas, Krishner Tatastha Shakti, Bheda Bheda Prakash, Surjangsha Kiran Joy Che, Agni Jala Choy, Swabhavik Krishner Tin Prakar Shakti Hai. It is the living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Krishna, because he is the marginal energy of Krishna and a manifestation simultaneously one with and different from the Lord, like a molecular particle of sunshine or fire. Krishna has three varieties of energy. 108, 109. Amrta-Pravaha Bhashya. Ke ami? Who am I? এই প্রশ্নের উত্তরে মহাপ্রভু আজ্ঞা করিতেছেন যে, in response to this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs, তুমি জীব, you are a jiva. এই জড় সম্ভূত শরীরটি কি তুমি? Is this body that is a product of matter you? তাহাও নহে, that is also not true. অথবা তোমার মন বুদ্ধি অহংকার স্বরূপ লিঙ্গ শরীরটি কি তুমি? Are you the subtle body consisting of the mind, intelligence and false ego? Consisting of your mind, intelligence and false ego. Tahao nahe. That is also not true. Tumi Sharupataha Krishner Nityadas. You are constitutionally Krishna's eternal servant. Tumi Krishner Tatastha Shakti. You are Krishna's marginal potency or That. That means Krishner Chit Jagat or Mayik Jagat, এই দুই জগতের মধ্যগত সীমায় স্থিত হইয়া তোমার উভয় জগতের সম্বন্ধ থাকায় তুমি তটস্থা শক্তি। Because you are situated in between the boundaries of the spiritual world of Lord Krishna and the world of Maya. Therefore, you have a relationship with both the worlds, and because of that, you are Krishna's marginal potency. Krishna Sahit Tomar Bheda Bhed Prakash Roop Ubhaya Vidha Sambandha. You are related to Krishna by being different from him and by being non-different from him. In this way, you are a different and non-different manifestation of Krishna. Chinmay Dharma Sambandhe Tumi Krishner Abheda Prakash. In terms of spiritual nature, you are a non-different manifestation of Krishna. That means that you are having the same, qualitatively or same as Krishna. এবং অনু চৈতন্য ধর্ম বশতঃ বৃহৎ চৈতন্য রূপ কৃষ্ণের ভেদ প্রকাশ, and you are a different manifestation from Krishna because of your minute conscious nature, and Krishna being gigantic consciousness. We are infinitesimal consciousness and he is infinite consciousness. Krishna saha tomar bhed o bhed jugavat siddha. So in this way, you are both different and non-different from Krishna. জীবের তটস্থ স্বভাব হইতেই এই যুগপৎ ভেদাভেদ প্রকাশ সিদ্ধ হইয়াছে। It is because of the Jiva's marginal nature that he is both different from and non-different from Krishna simultaneously. Jeev, Surya Swarup Krishner Angshak Kiran. If Krishna is compared to the sun, then the Jiva is compared to a ray of a part of the sun. A part of the sun in the form of a ray. Athava Uddipta Agnir Bispulinga Rup Jwala Chai O Jeev Samuher Udaharan Sthal. Another example is when there is a blazing fire and then there are sparks coming out of it. And the sparks are comparable to the Jivas and Krishna is comparable to this blazing fire. Anubhashya, he says one should consult Adi Leela, chapter 2, text 96. Okay. Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains these verses as follows. Shri Sanatana Goswami asked Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who am I? In answer, the Lord replied, you are a pure living entity. You are neither the gross material body nor the subtle body composed of mind and intelligence. Actually, you are a spirit soul, eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, Krishna. Therefore, you are his eternal servant. You belong to Krishna's marginal potency. There are two worlds, the spiritual world and the material world, and you are situated between the material and spiritual potencies. You have a relationship with both the material and the spiritual world. Therefore, you are called the marginal potency. You are related with Krishna as one and simultaneously different. Because you are spirit soul, you are one in quality with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because you are a very minute particle of spirit soul, you are different from the Supreme Soul. Therefore, your position is simultaneously one with and different from the Supreme Soul. The examples given are those of the sun itself and the small particles of sunshine and of a blazing fire and the small particles of fire. Another explanation of these verses can be found in Adi Leela, chapter 2, verse 96. Heading Vishnu Sarva Vyapini Shaktidara Leela Vilas. Lord Vishnu engages in sportive pastimes through his all-pervasive potencies. Vishnu Purane, as stated in the Vishnu Purana 1.22.53, 110, text 110. Ekadesha Stitasyagnir Jyotsna Vistarini Yatha Parasya Brahmana Shaktis Tathedam Akilam Jagat. Just as the illumination of a fire, which is situated in one place, is spread all over, the energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Parabrahman, are spread all over this universe. 110. Amrta-Pravaha Bhashya. Ekasthana sthita agnir jyotsna ba alok jerup bistrito. Just as the illumination of fire, which is located in one place, spreads out. Parabrahma Shakti Akhila Jagat Seru Vyapto Koriya Ache. In the same manner, the potency of the Supreme Brahman pervades all over the entire material existence. Anubhashya. Yatha ekadesha stitasya nirdishta sthana adhishtitasya Agnehe, Jyotsna, Prabha, Vistarini, Vyapini. Just as the illumination of fire, which is situated in one particular location, is pervading, it pervades or spreads out. Tatha, idam akhilam sarvam chidda chinmayam jagat parasya brahmanaha krishnasya shaktihi. In the same way, this entire world, which is both chit, which contains both chit and achit, is nothing but the potency of the Supreme Brahman, Krishna. Purport. This is a quotation from the Vishnu Purana, 1.22.53. Heading Krishna's Shakti Vichar. Then comes an analysis of Krishna's potencies. Text 111. Krishna's Swabhavik 3 Shakti Puri Noti Chit Shakti, Jiva Shakti, Ar Maya Shakti. Lord Krishna naturally has three energetic transformations, and these are known as the spiritual potency, the living entity potency, and the illusory potency. Amrta-Pravaha Bhashya. Samasta Bhaver, no, nothing. Nothing in Amrta-Pravaha Bhashya or Anubhashya. Heading Tribidha Shakti. So Krishna's potency is of three types. Chit Shakti, Jiva Shakti or Maya Shakti. Now he gives evidence for that. Vishnu Purana, as stated in the Vishnu Purana, 6.7.61. Text 112. Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta Kshetragyakhya Tatha Para Avidya Karma Sangyanya Tritiya Shakti Rishyate. You don't have this printout? Originally, Krishna's energy is spiritual, and the energy known as the living entity is also spiritual. However, there's another energy called illusion, which consists of fruitive activity. That is the Lord's third potency. 112. No? Isn't it 112?
Yes.
Yeah. 112. Amrta-Pravaha Bhashya.
Okay.
It's not there. Anubhashya.
Yes. One line.
Adi. Consult Adi. 7.119. So all of this is already explained. Purport. This is also a quotation from the Vishnu Purana, 6.7.61. For a further explanation of this verse, refer to Adi Leela, chapter 7, verse 119. Somebody please read out this portion. Adi Leela, chapter 7, verse 119. Can you read it out?
You have bigger one.
Adi 7.119. Adi 7.119. Please read the translation and purport.
The potency of Lord Vishnu is summarized in three categories, namely the spiritual potency, the living entities, and ignorance. The spiritual potency is full of knowledge. The living entities, although belonging to the spiritual potency, are subject to bewilderment. And the third energy, which is full of ignorance, is always visible in fruitive activities. Very long purpose.
Read.
This is a quotation from the Vishnu Purana, 6.7.61. In the previous verse quoted from the Bhagavad Gita, it has been established that the living entities are to be categorized among the Lord's potencies. The Lord is potent, and there are varieties of potencies. Palasya Shakti Vividhava Suryate. Now, in this quotation from the Vishnu Puran, this is further confirmed. There are varieties of potencies, and they have been divided into three categories, namely spiritual, marginal, and external. The spiritual potency is manifested in the spiritual world. Krishna's form, qualities, activities, and entourage, and are all spiritual. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.6. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanami swaropi san prakritim swam adhisthaya sambhavatmya atma mayaya. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, by my spiritual potency I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Atma Maya. Atma Maya refers to the spiritual potency. When Krishna comes to this or any other universe, he does so with his spiritual potency. We take birth by the force of the material potency. But as stated here, with reference to the Vishnu Purana, the Kshetragya or living entity belongs to the spiritual potency. Thus, when we free ourselves from the clutches of the material potency, we can also enter the spiritual world. The material potency is the energy of darkness or complete ignorance of spiritual activities. In the material potency, the living entity engages himself in fruitive activities, thinking that he can be happy through expansion in terms of material energy. This fact is dominantly manifest in this age of Kali because human society, not understanding the spiritual nature, is busily expanding in material activities. The men of the present day are almost unaware of their spiritual identity. They think that they are products of the elements of the material world and that everything will end with the annihilation of the body. Therefore, they conclude that as long as one has a material body consisting of material senses, one should enjoy the senses as much as possible. Since they are atheists, they do not care whether there is a next life. Such activities are described in this verse as avidya karma sanganya. The material energy is separated from the spiritual energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, although it is originally created by the Supreme Lord, He is not actually present within it. The Lord also confirms in the Bhagavad Gita 9.4, Mat sthani sarva bhutani. Everything is resting on me. This indicates that everything is resting on His own energy. For example, the planets are resting within outer space, which is the separated energy of Krishna. The Lord explains in Bhagavad Gita, Bhuvi lapo anal vayu tham mano buddhir evacha ahankara itiyamme bhinna prakriti ashtadha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence and false ego are all together these eight constitute my separated material energies. The separated energy acts as if it were independent. But here it is said that although such energies are certainly factual, they are not independent, but merely separated. The separated energy can be understood from a practical example. I compose books by speaking into a dictaphone. And when the dictaphone is replayed, it appears that I am speaking personally. But actually I am not. I spoke personally, but then the dictaphone tape, which is separate from me, acts exactly like me. Similarly, the material energy originally emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but it acts separately. Although the energy is supplied by the Lord, this is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita 9.10. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sa chalacharam. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and unmoving beings. Under the guidance or superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the material energy works as if independent, although it is not actually independent. In the verse from Vishnu Purana, the total energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is classified into three divisions, namely spiritual or internal potency of the Lord, the marginal potency or Kshetragya, and the material potency which is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and appears to act independently. When Srila Vyasadeva, by meditation and self-realization, saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he also saw the separated energy of the Lord standing behind him. Apashyat Purusham Purnam Mayam Cha Tad Apashrayam. Vyasadeva also realized that it is this separated energy of the Lord, the material energy, that covers the knowledge of the living entity. Yaya Samohito Jiva Atmanam Tri Gunatmakam. The separated material energy bewilders the living entities, jivas, and thus they work very hard under its influence, not knowing that they are not fulfilling their mission in life. Unfortunately, most of them think that they are body and should therefore enjoy the material senses irresponsibly, since when death comes, everything will be finished. His atheistic philosophy also flourished in India, where it was sometimes propagated by Charvaka Muni, who said, Ridam Kritva Dhritam Pivet, Yavaj Jivet Sukham Jivet, Bhasmi Bhutasya Dehasya Kutah, Punar Aga Mano Bhavet. His theory was that as long as one lives, one should eat as much ghee as possible. In India, ghee is the basic ingredient in preparing many varieties of food. Since everyone wants to enjoy nice food, Charvaka Muni advised that one eat as much ghee as possible. One may say, I have no money. How shall I purchase ghee? Charvaka Muni, however, says, if you have no money, then beg, borrow, or steal. But in some way, secure ghee and enjoy your life. For one who further objects that he will be held accountable for such unauthorized activities as begging, borrowing, or stealing, Charvaka Muni replies, you will not be held responsible. As soon as your body is burnt to ashes, after death everything is finished. This is called ignorance. From the Bhagavad Gita, it is understood that one does not die with the annihilation of this body. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. The annihilation of one body involves changing to another. Tata dehantara prapti. Therefore, to perform irresponsible activities in the material world is very dangerous. Without knowledge of the spirit soul and its transmigration, people are allured by the material energy to engage in many such activities, as if one could become happy simply by dint of material knowledge. Without reference to spiritual existence, therefore, the entire material world and its activities are referred to as avidya karma samagya. In order to dissipate the ignorance of the human beings who work under the material energy, which is separated from Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord comes down to revive their original nature of spiritual activities. Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata. As soon as they deviate from the original nature, the Lord comes to teach them. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. My dear living entities, give up all material activities and simply surrender to me for protection. It is the statement of Charvaka Muni that one should beg, borrow, or steal money to purchase ghee and enjoy life. Thus, even the greatest atheist of India recommends that one eat ghee, not meat. No one could conceive of human beings eating meat like tigers and dogs, but men have become so degraded that they are just like animals and can no longer claim to have a human civilization.
India also is becoming like that, no?
India is completely waste.
Prabhupada said in Vedic civilization, you are graded by what you eat. So by that logic, India is already mlecha only.
Yeah.
Gone case. Okay. Then heading. अंतरंगा स्वरूप शक्ति अच्छेद्य भावे शक्तिमानेर आश्रितो. The internal personal potency is has inseparably taken shelter of the Shaktiman, the possessor of all potencies. See, Antaranga Shakti cannot be separated from the internal potency, from Krishna. The marginal potency can choose to be this side or that side. Bahiranga potency is always away. Very interesting. We have a clear philosophy. Vishnu Purana, in Vishnu Purana 1.3.2, text 13, Shaktaya Sarvabhavanam Achintya Jnana Gochara Yato to Brahmanastastu Sargadhya Bhava Shaktaya Bhavanti Tapatam Sreshtha Pavakasya Yatoshnata. All the creative energies which are inconceivable to a common man exist in the Supreme Absolute Truth. These inconceivable energies act in the process of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, O chief of the ascetics. Just as there are two energies possessed by fire, namely heat and light, these inconceivable creative energies are the natural characteristics of the Absolute Truth. So these inconceivable creative energies refer to his internal potency here. Amrta-Pravaha. समस्त भावे रचिंत्य ज्ञान गोचर शक्ति सकल ब्रह्मे वर्तमान. All kinds of potencies exist in Brahman. These potencies are beyond conceivable knowledge pertaining to all forms of existences. एक कारण है, for this reason, से ब्रह्म शक्ति सकल सृष्टि आदि भाव शक्ति रूपे क्रिया करे. These potencies, they function as the energies pertaining to creation and so on. He tapasa shrestha, or best of the ascetics. Agni jerup ushnata dharma swatasiddha. Just as the heat of fire is intrinsic to it and it is naturally established. Shakti sakal o brahmer jerup swatasiddha dharma. The potencies of Brahman are also self-established and are intrinsic to him. Anu, he tapatam, tapasanam shrestha, O best of the ascetics, yatha pavakasya agnehe ushnata dahakatva adi shakti. Just as heat here refers to the capacity to burn and so on, that pertain to fire. Asti. Tatha yatah brahmanaha eva sarvabhavanam achintya jnana gocharaha manava buddhehe agocharaha. Similarly, there are so many things which are beyond the conceivable understanding to human beings. Atah tu eva taha tathavidaha sargadhyaha chit sarga adhyaha avichhetya rupena brahmana shaktayaha nitya prakatitaha bhavanti. Similarly, there are phenomena like spiritual emanation, chit sarga, and so on, caused by the potencies of Brahman, which are inseparable from him, which are eternally manifest. Purport. This is also a quotation from the Vishnu Purana 1.3.2. Heading Tatastha Jiva Shakti. Then you have the Jiva Shakti, which is marginal. Vishnu Purane. In Vishnu Purana 6.7.62 to 63. These are texts 114 and 115. Yaya kshetragya shakti sa veshtita nripa sarvaga samsara tapan akhilan avapnotyatra santatan. O king, the kshetragya shakti is the living entity. Although he has a facility to live in either the material or the spiritual world, he suffers the threefold miseries of material existence because he is influenced by the avidya, nescience potency, which covers his constitutional position. This and the following words are also quoted from the Vishnu Purana 6.7.62 to 63. 115. Taya tirohitatvacha shakti kshetragya sanghita sarvabhuteshu bhupala taratamyena vartate. This living entity, covered by the influence of nations, exists in different forms in the material condition. O king, he is thus proportionately freed from the influence of material energy to greater or lesser degrees. Amrta-Pravaha does not have anything. Anubhashya 114-115, Madhya 6.155 to 156 should be consulted. What is Madhya 6? Wait. Liberation of Sarvabhauma?
Yes, liberation of Sarvabhauma.
Okay, leave it. Anyway, we'll come to that. We'll come to that. At that time we can study. Taya tirohitatvat shaktihi taratamyena vartate. So Taratamya is because of being covered by Maya Shakti. Taratanya indicates that the living entities are present in various grades. Taratanya, the whole Tattvavadi line is obsessed with it. Taratanya, Taratanya, Taratanya. But they also say if you don't, actually they are correct. You have to know which is at which grade correctly. It's like in Dharma Shastras, there is a law and order. There are different degrees of punishment. There are also different degrees of reward. So if you over punish someone, that is wrong. You under punish someone, that is also wrong. Similarly, if you over reward or under reward, that is also wrong. So it is not wrong, it's correct only. Just as if we consider, we have to know the grades of worshipable beings also, no? We know that Lord Krishna is supreme. We know Lord Shiva is below. We know Brahma is a demigod who is below. We know Indra is below him. If we start equating Indra and Brahma, it becomes a problem. We start equating Brahma and Lord Vishnu, that's a problem. So we have to know who is where. We have to know the position in the gradation correctly. Actually, it's correct. It's correct. Okay. Heading. Bahiranga Maya Shakti. Maya Shakti is the external potency of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, as stated in Srimad Bhagavad Gita 7.5. Apare 116. Apare yamitaswanyam prakritim vidhime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. Besides these inferior energies, O mighty Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mine which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. No explanation in Amrta-Pravaha. And Anubhashya simply says, consult Adi 7.118. I just realized that Adi 7 also we are supposed to study. So we'll leave it at that. This is a verse from the Bhagavad Gita 7.5. For an explanation, see Adi Leela chapter 7 verse 118. Then, heading Virup Vichar. Wow, this is very nice, no? Swarupa Vichar. Now we are looking at Virup Vichar. Sarvapratame Jiver Swarup Vichar. From 108 to 116 was the Swarup of the Jiva, the original form of the Jiva. Now he's going to analyze the Virupas or the perverted artificial forms, external forms of the Jiva. Baddha Jiver Bhavarog O Tatfale Durdasha Ba Shasti. The disease. How do we translate Bhavarog? It's not very commonly used in Sanskrit literature. The disease of material existence. Being in matter itself is considered to be a disease of the conditioned souls. And as a result of that, the calamities or punishments of the living entities. 117. Krishna Bhuli, Shai Jeev, Anadi Bahirmukh, Ataye Maya Tare De Samsar Dukh. Forgetting Krishna, the living entity has been attracted by the external feature from time immemorial. Therefore, the illusory energy Maya gives him all kinds of misery in his material existence. Amrta-Pravaha, Ami Krishner Nityadas. I am an eternal servant of Krishna. Ekatha Bhuli Ai. As soon as the Jiva forgets, Jiver Maya Bandhan, the Jiva is arrested by Maya. Tatastha Shakti Rup Jiver, Chit Jagat O Mayik Jagater, Sandhi Shimai, Avasthiti Kale, Maya Bhog Vasana Korai, Tahar Maya Pravesh Hai. Because the Jivatma resides in the border. When the Jivatma resides in the border between the spiritual world and the Mayic world, when Maya causes the living entity to develop desire for enjoyment, then he enters into Maya, enters into the world of Maya. Maya pravesh hoitei, Mayic kaler gonon. And from the time he enters into Maya, only from the time that he enters into Maya, there is the calculation of time based on Maya. Shei kal gonanar agrei bahirmukata hoai. Because the Jivatma becomes averse to Krishna before the beginning of that calculation of time, taha ke onadi bola jai. Krishna's being bahirmukha, becoming bahirmukha, can be stated to be beginningless. Jehetu taha mai kaler purbe hoiya che. Because it has happened before the advent of Mayic time. Okay. Purport. When the living entity forgets his constitutional position as an eternal servant of Krishna, he is immediately entrapped by the illusory external energy. The living entity is originally part and parcel of Krishna and is therefore the superior energy of Krishna. He is endowed with inconceivable minute energy that works inconceivably within the body. However, the living entity, forgetting his position, is situated in material energy. The living entity is called the marginal energy because by nature he is spiritual, but by forgetfulness he is situated in the material energy. Thus he has the power to live either in the material energy or in the spiritual energy. And for this reason he is called marginal energy. Being in the marginal position, he is sometimes attracted by the external illusory energy. And this is the beginning of his material life. When he enters the material energy, he is subjected to the threefold time measurement. Past, present and future. Past, present and future belong only to the material world. They do not exist in the spiritual world. The living entity is eternal and he existed before the creation of this material world. Unfortunately, he has forgotten his relationship with Krishna. The living entity's forgetfulness is described herein as anadi. Anadi, from time immemorial, which indicates that it has existed since time immemorial. One should understand that due to his desire to enjoy himself in competition with Krishna, the living entity comes into material existence. Okay, all of that should be clear.
When it says that in spiritual world there is no past, present, and future,
Correct.
there is only today.
There is eternal today. It is the dream of the young men and women.
There is no yesterday.
There may be yesterday whenever Krishna wants.
But I will not remember that what I did yesterday.
Why we need to remember in the spiritual world? It is kutastha jagat. It is unchanging. We are not disturbed by time. So,
Just to facilitate the Lord's Leela.
anything can happen. That's all.
Time works.
We are not under the influence of time in the spiritual world now. Here we are under Maya. We are under Prakriti. Actually, we are under Prakriti. We are under Kala. We are also under karma. I perform certain activities, so now the karmic reactions are going to chase me. So I am under it. I cannot escape it. Similarly, once I come into Prakriti, then I am going to be influenced by my subtle body, my gross body, the environment, Sattva-guna, Rajo-guna, Tamo-guna, all this is going to affect me. Similarly, there is the force of time which will bring about destruction. Time in Sanskrit refers to the force of destruction. So it brings about destruction now. It brings about destruction and then rebirth and then again destruction. It's just a cycle of continuous destruction. So these things don't exist in the spiritual world. It doesn't exist in Brahmajyoti even. Certainly it doesn't exist in the spiritual world. Okay, let's go on. 118. कभु स्वर्गे उठाए कभु नरके डुबाए दंड्य जने राजा जेनो नदीते चुबाए. In the material condition, the living entity is sometimes raised to the higher planetary systems and material prosperity and sometimes drowned in a hellish situation. His state is exactly like that of a criminal whom a king punishes by submerging him in water and then raising him again from the water. That is 118. Anubhashya. Nityamukta Jeev Kokono Krishna Bismrita Honna. The eternally liberated Jiva does not ever forget Krishna. Anadikal hoite Krishnonmukha thakiya. Hari seva arup nitya vritti te adhishthit. From beginningless time, he is facing Krishna. He is favorable to service to Krishna. And therefore he is always situated in his eternal propensity of service to Lord Hari. Kintu, je so-called Jeev, those Jivatmas, where is this? Kintu je so-called Jeev, Krishna Seva Adhikar Bismrita Hoya, having forgotten their eligibility to engage in service to Krishna. Anadi karma fall, bhogavasana krame, because of their propensity to enjoy the results of karma from time immemorial. Maya Rodoshilan Korea, they chase Maya. Nijo ke karma fall bhokta buddhi kore. Therefore, they consider themselves the enjoyers of the results of their activities. Tahader Maya Kartrik karma fall bhog nirdishta hai. For them, the consequences of their activities are determined by Maya. Rajar Purashkar or Donder Nai, like the reward and punishment of a king. Baddha Jeev, Punna Karma Prabhave Swarge, Dev Pada Arudha Hoya, Sukh Bhog Kare. The conditioned soul, by the influence of his pious activities, he elevates himself to the posts of the Devas in Swarga and experience happiness, abar, and papa fole as a result of their sinful activities. Narakadite klesh labh kare, they attain distress in hell, etc. Purport. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 4.3.16, it is stated, Asangohyayam Purushaha. The living entity is always free from the contamination of the material world. One who is not materially infected and who does not forget Krishna as his master is called Nityamukta. In other words, one who is eternally liberated from material contamination is called Nityamukta. From time immemorial, the Nityamukta living entity has always been a devotee of Krishna, and his only attempt has been to serve Krishna. Thus, he never forgets his eternal servitorship to Krishna. Any living entity who forgets his eternal relationship with Krishna is under the sway of the material condition, bereft of the Lord's transcendental loving service. He is subjected to the reactions of fruitive activity. When he is elevated to the higher planetary systems due to worldly pious activities, he considers himself well situated. But when he is subjected to punishment, he thinks himself improperly situated. Thus, material nature awards and punishes the living entity. When the living entity is materially opulent, material nature is rewarding him. When he is materially embarrassed, material nature is punishing him. Heading. Baddha Jive Rog, the disease of the conditioned soul. Tahar Nidan, O Chikitsa, Arthar Pathya, O Aushad Seban Vidhi. What is Nidan? Nidan means treatment.
Really has the sense of solution, giving some.
This is Alpapran Nidan. Alpapran remedy. It must be here. Here it must be remedy. Tahar Nidan or Chikitsa. Chikitsa means treatment now. So it's the remedy for the disease of the conditioned souls and its treatment. In other words, the method of diet and medicines. The method of accepting diet and medicines to cure this disease. Srimad Bhagavate, in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.37, 119. Bhayam dvitiya vaniveshatasya ishadapatrasya viparyayo smriti tanmayaya to buddha abhajetam bhaktyayikayesham gurudevatatma. When the living entity is attracted by the material energy which is separate from Krishna, he is overpowered by fear. Because he is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the material energy, his conception of life is reversed. In other words, instead of being the eternal servant of Krishna, he becomes Krishna's competitor. This is called viparyayo smritihi. Viparyayaha asmritihi. Viparyayaha, reversal of the position. Asmritihi, no conception of his relationship with the Supreme Lord. To nullify this mistake, one who is actually learned and advanced worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his spiritual master, worshipful deity, and source of life. Spiritual master, worshipful deity, and source of life. Gurudeva Tatma. He accepts the Supreme Lord. He thus worships the Lord by the process of unalloyed devotional service. Okay. Amrta-Pravaha Bhashya for this 119. Krishna hoite itar je maya. Tahate abhinivisht tam prajukt jiber bhai upasthit hoy. Maya is distinct from Krishna. So when the jiva becomes absorbed in Maya, then because of that, there is fear. Ebang and Shei Ish Hoite Bahirmukh Hovaye, and because he is averse to the Lord, Maya Janita Varita Smriti, then he develops a perverted memory created by Maya. Etan Nibandhan, because of this, Pandita Bhakti, learned persons, Guru ke Devata o Atma Swarup Gyan Koriya, Ananda Bhaktir Sohit Sei Parameshwar ke Bhajan Koriben. Therefore, learned persons should understand the bona fide spiritual master to be his worshipable deity and his very life, and he should engage in devotional service to the Supreme Lord with Ananya Bhakti. He should execute exclusive devotional service to the Supreme Lord. That's the point. Anubhashya 119. Dwarakapure Vasudever Jigyasa Phale Devarshi Narad Bhagavat Dharma Kirtan Prasange Videharaj Nimi O Nava Jogendre Sambad Varnan Korilen. In the city of Dwaraka, in response to Vasudeva's inquiry, Devarshi Narada described a conversation between Nimi, the king of the Videhas, and the 9 Yogendras while describing Bhagavata Dharma. Nimir Jagge Navajogendra Gaman Korile Tini Taha Digge Bhagavata Dharma Kirtan Korete Prasana Korae Taha Digger Annatama Kabi Rishi Prathame Bhagavata Dharma Lakshan Bulia Baddha Jiver Duravastha O Bhagavad Bhajan Kartab Bata Upadesh Korite Chen. When the 9 Yogendras went to King Nimi's sacrifice and they described Bhagavata Dharma to him. No, and he prayed to them to describe Bhagavata Dharma to him. And one amongst them was a rishi named Kavi. So he first of all described the characteristics of Bhagavata Dharma. And then afterwards, he instructed the king about the miserable condition of the conditioned souls and the reasons for engaging in Bhagavad Bhajan, devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is set out in this verse. Yataha ishat bhagavataha krishnat apetasya vimukhasya baddhajivasya tan mayaya tasya bhagavataha krishnasya mayaya bahiranga shaktya asmritihi bhagavataha swarupasya aspurtihi dharana abhavaha ityartaha. Because for the conditioned soul who is averse to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, by dint of the Lord's Maya potency, by dint of this external potency of Maya that belongs to Bhagavan Krishna, the living entity becomes forgetful, which means the Supreme Personality of Godhead's personality is not revealed to him. He is not able to constantly see the Supreme Lord. Tataha, consequently, viparyayaha maya krita karma phala bhoga parabhimanaha swarupa asmaranat dehaha asmi iti vivartamola buddhi vaiparityam ityarthaha. So what happens is then he experiences a reversal of conditions. A reversal of condition means he becomes overcome by the desire to enjoy the results of karma by the force of Maya. Because he no longer remembers his constitutional position, he develops a perverted conception, a deep-rooted misconception that I am my body. Tataha. And then, as a result of that, Dvitiya abhaniveshataha nija bhoga ja kalpanat surupat anyasmin vastuni deha adau aveshataha sacha deha ahankarataha sacha surupa asmaranat bhayam deha dravina sukhrit nimittam samsritihi ashankam ya syat bhavati. So then, because he is absorbed in something which is different from him, he is absorbed in his own fantasy of enjoyment of this world. Because of his obsession with his body and so on, which are distinct from him. Because of his false ego of identifying with his body, and because he does not remember his constitutional nature, his swarup, then there is fear. There is fear caused by his body, by wealth, by his well-wishers and so on. That means he becomes frightened that he will be separated from his body, from his wealth, from his well-wishers and so on. This is simply nothing but samsriti or material existence. So he becomes frightened of all this. Ataha, therefore, pudaha, krishnonmukhaha, buddhiman jivaha, the learned person. The learned person means the intelligent jiva who is favorable to Lord Krishna, who is facing Krishna. Unmukha, bahirmukha, these are very commonly used expressions. Bahirmukha means one who is averse to Krishna, and Unmukha we have not found a good English equivalent. I don't know, I can try to find out. But nothing, I could not find anything so far. Nothing satisfactory. You can't say he stands up to Krishna. You cannot say that. He faces Krishna. In English it means nothing. He is favorably inclined to serve Krishna. He surrendered to Krishna. Tam isham adhokshajam eva Gurudevatatma, Guruhu eva devata Ishvaraha Atma Preshtascha Yasya Tatha Drishti San Ekaya Kevalaya Avyabhicharinya Aikantikaya Bhaktya Itarajnana Karma Marga Anusarana Tyagena Abhajet Samyak Seveta. So therefore the learned person should serve the Supreme Lord, that Lord Adhokshaja, who is beyond the range of sense perception. And how he should serve the Lord, that learned person himself should become a Guru Devatatma. He should accept the bona fide spiritual master as his Devata, as his God. And he should accept the bona fide spiritual master as his Atma, which means as his dearmost. He should consider him like that. And he should engage in exclusive devotional service to the Lord, which means it should be exclusive, it should not be adulterated, and it should be one pointed. This kind of bhakti, he should engage in this kind of bhakti, which also means that it should be free from all the other processes in other pathways, such as jnana, karma, or any other pathway. You should abandon all of that. Abhajet. You should completely engage in service to Lord Krishna. Then Krishna will save him from all of this misery. Purport. There's a typing mistake in the heading here. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.37. It is an instruction given by Kavi Rishi, one of the 9 saintly personalities called the 9 Yogendras. When Vasudeva, Krishna's father, asked Devarshi Narada in Dwaraka about devotional service, it was mentioned that previously King Nimi, who was the king of Videha, was instructed by the 9 Yogendras. When Sri Narada Muni discoursed on Bhagavata Dharma devotional service, he indicated how a conditioned soul can be liberated by engaging in the loving transcendental service of the Lord. The Lord is the super soul, spiritual master, and worshipable deity of all conditioned souls. Not only is Krishna the supreme worshipable deity for all living entities, but he is also the Guru or Chaitya Guru, the super soul, who always gives the living entity good counsel. Unfortunately, the living entity neglects the Supreme Person's instructions. He thus identifies with the material energy and is consequently overpowered by a kind of fear resulting from accepting himself as a material body and considering paraphernalia related to the material body to be his property. All types of fruitive results actually come from the spirit soul. But because he has forgotten his real duty, he is embarrassed by many material consequences such as fear and attachment. The only remedy is to revert to the service of the Lord and thus be saved from material nature's unwanted harassment. Okay, let's move on.
It says that Lord gives good counsel to the living entities.
Yes.
Does material counsel also?
He gives material counsel. What is material counsel? Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayandite.
Material counsel means which company to apply for job, which business to do to earn more money.
That is as Paramatma he gives according to one's karmic capacities. That anyway he is giving to everyone.
Achha, according to karma.
Yeah, of course. According to karma only, then what? I commit so many sinful activities, I have to suffer, no? Paropakara punyaya papaya parapidanam. Punya means I do good to others. Papa means I harm others. So I have harmed others, I need to be punished. I do good to others, so Krishna considers these people should be rewarded. Because gradually that sense becomes, it comes into the head that actually we should do good to others.
So means he gives good counsel and also bad counsel.
That is only as Paramatma.
As Paramatma he gives good counsel and also
Yeah, but that is autopilot mode.
autopilot.
Yeah, I do pious activities automatically. Krishna, he doesn't even look at it. It's all, the computer is dealing with all that. Direct email comes only from Bhagavan, not from Paramatma. Paramatma is chat GPT, ultimate chat GPT.
Extra good counsel, which is
Excellent. That is as Bhagavan.
Bhagwan.
Yeah.
And that is not for everyone, that is only for.
That is ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhaja. To whatever extent we are favorable, to that extent. Jnana, yoga, bhakti. These are different degrees of being favorable to Krishna. Within bhakti also, whether it is contaminated a little bit by karma or jnana or yoga, or whether it's more or less contaminated or absolutely free, all of that is there. Okay, teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Your constitutional position is that you are pure living soul. The Lord told Sanatana. This material body cannot be identified with your real self, nor is your mind your real identity, nor your intelligence, nor false ego. Your identity is that of eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Your position is that you are transcendental. The superior energy of Krishna is spiritual in constitution, and the inferior external energy is material. Since you are between the material energy and the spiritual energy, your position is marginal. According to the marginal potency of Krishna, you are simultaneously one with and different from Krishna. Because you are spirit, you are not different from Krishna. Because you are only a minute particle of Krishna, you are different from him. The simultaneous oneness and difference always exists in the relationship between the living entities and the Supreme Lord. From the marginal position of the living entities, this conception of simultaneously one and different can be understood. The living entity is just like a molecular particle of sunshine, whereas Krishna may be compared to the blazing, shining sun itself. Lord Chaitanya compared the living entities to blazing sparks from a fire, and the Supreme Lord to the blazing fire of the sun. In this connection, the Lord cites a verse from Vishnu Purana 1.22.52. Everything that is manifested within this cosmic world is but the energy of the Supreme Lord. As fire emanating from one place diffuses its illumination and heat all around, so the Lord, although situated in one place in the spiritual world, manifests his different energies everywhere. Indeed, the whole cosmic creation is composed of different manifestations of his energy. The energy of the Supreme Lord is transcendental and spiritual, and the living entities are part and parcel of that energy. There is another energy, however, called material energy, which is covered by the cloud of ignorance. This energy, which is material nature, is divided into three modes or gunas: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Lord Chaitanya quoted from Vishnu Purana 1.3.2 to the effect that all inconceivable energies reside in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that the whole cosmic manifestation acts due to the Lord's inconceivable energy. The Lord also said that the living entities are known as Kshetragya, or knowers of the field of activities. In the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the body is described as the field of activities, and the living entity as Kshetragya, the knower of that field. Although the living entity is constitutionally conversant with spiritual energy or has the potency to understand spiritual energy, he is covered by the material energy and consequently identifies the body with the self. This false identification is called false ego. Deluded by this false ego, the bewildered living entity in material existence changes its different bodies and suffers various kinds of miseries. Knowledge of the living entity's true position is possessed to different extents by different types of living entities. In other words, it is to be understood that the living entity is part and parcel of the spiritual energy of the Supreme Lord. Because the material energy is inferior, man has the ability to get uncovered from this material energy and utilize the spiritual energy. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that the superior energy is covered by the inferior energy. Due to this covering, the living entity is subjected to the miseries of the material world, and in proportion to the different degrees of passion and ignorance, he suffers material miseries. Those who are a little enlightened suffer less, but on the whole, everyone is subjected to material miseries due to being covered by the material energy. Caitanya Mahaprabhu also quoted from the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in which it is stated that earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego all combine together to form the inferior energy of the Supreme Lord. The superior energy, however, is the real identity of the living being, and it is because of that energy that the whole material world functions. The cosmic manifestation, which is made of material elements, has no power to act unless it is moved by the superior energy, the living entity. It can actually be said that the conditioned life of the living entity is due to forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord in the superior energy. When that relationship is forgotten, conditioned life is the result. Only when man revives his real identity, that of eternal servitor to the Lord, does he become liberated. Chapter 4, the wise man. Since no one can trace the history of the living entity's entanglement in material energy, the Lord says that it is beginningless. By beginningless, it is meant that conditional life exists prior to the creation. It is simply manifested during and after the creation. Due to forgetfulness of his nature, the living entity, although spirit, suffers all kinds of miseries in material existence. It should be understood that there are also living entities who are not entangled in this material energy but are situated in the spiritual world. They are called liberated souls and are always engaged in Krishna consciousness, devotional service. The activities of those who are conditioned by material nature are taken into account, and in their next life, according to these activities, they are offered different types of material bodies. In the material world, the conditioned spirit soul is subjected to various rewards and punishments. When he is rewarded for his righteous activities, he is elevated to the higher planets, where he becomes one of the many demigods. And when he is punished for his abominable activities, he is thrown into hellish planets, where he suffers the miseries of material existence more acutely. But okay, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives a very nice example of this punishment. Formerly, a king used to punish a criminal by dunking him in the water, raising him up again for breath, and then again dunking him in the water. Material nature punishes and rewards the individual entity in just the same way. Where was this? 118? Was it 118?
Yeah,
It was 118. Material nature punishes and rewards the individual entity in just the same way. When he is punished, he is dunked in the water of material miseries, and when he is rewarded, he is taken out of it for some time. Elevation to the higher planets or to a higher life status is never permanent. One must again come down to be submerged in the water. All this is constantly going on in this material existence. Sometimes one is elevated to higher planetary systems, and sometimes one is thrown into the hellish condition of material life. Hellish condition of material life. In this regard, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recites a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam taken from the instructions of Narada Muni to Vasudeva, the father of Krishna. In this quotation from the 9 sages who were instructing Maharaj Nimi, Maya is defined as forgetfulness of one's relationship with Krishna. Actually, Maya means that which is not. It has no existence. Thus, it is false to think that the living entity has no connection with the Supreme Lord. He may not believe in the existence of God, or he may think that he has no relationship with God, but these are all quote unquote illusions or Maya. Due to absorption in this false conception of life, man is always fearful and full of anxieties. In other words, a godless concept of life is Maya. One who is actually learned in the Vedic literatures surrenders unto the Supreme Lord with great devotion and accepts him as the supreme goal. When a living entity forgets the constitutional nature of this relationship with God, he is at once overwhelmed by the external energy. This is the cause of his false ego, his false identification of the body with the self. Indeed, his whole conception of the material universe arises from this false identification with the body. For he becomes attached to the body and its byproducts. To escape this entanglement, he has only to perform his duty and to surrender unto the Supreme Lord with intelligence and devotion and with sincere Krishna consciousness. A conditioned soul falsely thinks himself happy in the material world, but if he is favored by the instructions of an unalloyed devotee, he gives up his desire for material enjoyment and becomes enlightened in Krishna consciousness. Where is all that? Okay, fine. So that we'll take it up next session. Okay, we'll stop with that. Vancha kalpataruvesha kripasandabhyo vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
तो ये दामोदर आरती को दिखाते प्रतीक राधा भगवान का फोटो को भी दिखा सकते हैं और मोबाइल में फोटो चला के मोबाइल में भी दिखा सकते हैं. थोड़ा इजी हो जाएगा ना, मोबाइल में फोटो लगाओ, एक लाइटर जला के
But what if somebody wants to show a virtual lamp to
Yeah, that is happening in the